WWL Louisiana News at 5 begins with breaking news.
A Louisiana man is scheduled to be executed in as little as 1 hour, and it looks like convicted killer Jessie Hoffman is out of options. Hoffman was convicted of raping and killing Mary Molly Elliott in 1996. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. It's the first execution in Louisiana in 15 years. We've been following breaking developments on this all day long here in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge, and at Angola. And that's where we find investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein right now. Mike, you will be in that press room when this happens soon.
So I'm here at the grounds of the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola. In less than an hour, the state plans to start the execution process of Jessie Hoffman. We just got a very brief statement from the warden, Daryl Benoit, that everything is proceeding as scheduled, with this execution set for between the hours of 6 and 9 o'clock, depending on the execution protocol, and obviously any last-minute appeals. So far today, it's been a long day of appeals, both in state court as well as federal court. All of those appeals have been denied, setting the stage for Louisiana's first state execution in 15 years, since 2010. We know that one of the grounds for the appeals was the state's new execution method of basically nitrogen gas. That will be something that will be used for the first time here in Louisiana as the state gears up to restart executions after the long delay. This method, however controversial, has been used in the state of Alabama 4 times. The appeals on the use of this particular execution method have been taken all the way up to the United States Supreme Court in those Alabama cases, and those executions were carried out. So at this late stage, with less than an hour to go, before the process begins, it looks like, barring a last-minute stay, and I guess the United States Supreme Court would be the last stop, this execution of Jessie Hoffman is going to go forward. Just briefly, this is for the 1996 murder and rape of Mary Molly Elliott in St. Tammany Parish, and we will be here to keep everybody abreast. We are obviously hour to hour on the timing and how this unfolds, but we will be here, and right now I will toss it back to you, reporting live from Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola, Mike Pearlstein, WWL, Louisiana.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. And Hoffman's attorneys have been trying to stop this execution all day long.
It's been an ongoing fight since this morning.
Yeah.
That is with additional motions filed, but all have been denied. Alyssa Curtis continues our coverage. She's in Baton Rouge right now following these developments. Alyssa.
Sharice, Katie, about an hour ago, the state Supreme Court ruled that this execution using nitrogen hypoxia can go forward, and this decision brings a halt to a day of petitioning at the state level courts. The state Supreme Court decision says capital punishment does not need to be void of any pain, and using the freedom of religion argument, they say, could lead to any person of any religion being against any form of capital punishment. Here's what led to this moment. As the clock ticks and Louisiana prepares to execute the first person by nitrogen hypoxia, Jessie Hoffman's lawyers are trying everything.
I thought in Louisiana we valued the right to practice your religion, and at no time is more important than at the time of your death.
Hoffman was convicted for the 1996 murder and rape of Mary Molly Elliott. Now, nearly 30 years later, Hoffman isn't arguing he should not be executed, but rather against using this method, saying it infringes on his right to practice his Buddhist religion. Tuesday, hours before Hoffman was set to be executed, 19th Judicial Court Judge Chip Moore heard the case. After brief arguments about why he should take it up, it took him over half an hour to decide. He told the court he was, quote, taking it extremely serious. Judge Moore ultimately decided previous decisions from other courts stand and dissolved the halt. Hoffman's lawyers say the state continuously uses procedural roadblocks against what they call a genuine moral motion to have his religion respected.
This is a moral issue, and Judge Moore could have ruled consistent with Mr. Hoffman's right to practice his religion.
Plus, they say the state's constitution protects against torture and say this method goes against that.
At what point does Jessie Hoffman get to say, I cannot be tortured to death?
They say they'll continue to use every option available. Hoffman and his team of lawyers have now exhausted all options at the state level. And like Mike Perlstein said, really the only ones who could step in now are the United States Supreme Court. But the state Supreme Court said in their decision, they cited that the United States Supreme Court has not found any merit in these arguments before. Reporting live in Baton Rouge, Alyssa Curtis, WWL, Louisiana.
Alyssa, thank you for that update. Hoffman's attorneys also filed motions in federal court in an attempt to halt this execution tonight.
Yeah, Whitney Miller was in that courtroom. And so, Whitney, exactly what are his attorneys asking for?
Well, Katie, they wanted Judge Lamel to stay his execution, and they also asked that the judge would grant an evidentiary hearing in which his attorneys could explore claims of racial bias when it comes to Hoffman's verdict and the death sentence that he received. But Judge Lamel ultimately said he could not grant their request, and he said he did so reluctantly, basing his decision on his belief that he does not have the discretion to reverse a Fifth Circuit finding or even a U.S. Supreme Court finding. All of this is stemming from Hoffman's claims that one of the jurors had racial bias and therefore influenced other jurors with that same bias, resulting in his death sentence. However, Judge Lamel says the Supreme Court and the 5th District had already looked into those claims and ruled against them. He also said he believes an evidentiary hearing in which Hoffman's attorneys would likely re-interview some of those jurors would not be fruitful. There has now been denials, as you heard already, in Baton Rouge, here at federal court and the U.S. Supreme Court. Barring any last-minute appeals, which his attorneys may choose to do, the execution is set to happen sometime tonight between 6 and 9 p.m. For now, in New Orleans, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
All right.